Hi, it's been a while. Hope you're okay. I've been sick this weekend, which, it happens. It's one of those where, like, you start off good, you're like, yeah, I feel great. Then the day goes on, and you're like, fuck my life. That kind of thing. Anyway, just wanted to say hi. Hope you're doing well, staying creative. I am wondering if you have any classes or specific mediums that you'd like me to teach. I asked that question over on Skillshare, but I know not everyone has the notifications on in there. So yeah, just wondering if there's any specific things that you have been wanting to learn or get better at. Whether that's, I don't know, it could be anything. Color composition, watercolor, whatever. And I said Skillshare, but basically it's for both Patreon and Skillshare because I don't know if you've noticed, I've definitely been teaching more on Patreon for the past year, and I've kind of split the type of classes that I do between Skillshare and Patreon. The feeling that I get is that on Skillshare I'm doing maybe slightly shorter classes, or rather less in depth. And then on Patreon, I'm really doing kind of more deep dives into specific subjects related to visual language, expanding your visual language, getting a better understanding for what the different components are of visual image making. And so I'm trying to get kind of just a view of what you're all interested in, so I can see what to put where, kind of, but also just to get a better sense of what it is that you might be wanting to explore more. And it's interesting because I'm going to be honest with you, for many, many, many years in my career as an artist, as a freelance artist, I honestly did not know or understand the level of depth that there exists in the field of image making. It's maybe a little bit embarrassing to admit, but that's the truth of it. Like, obviously, if you think of composition, I was like, oh, well, I know about, the three, oh my God, what's it even called? I'm totally blanking. The thing where you split your canvas into three parts and that the most interesting ones are at the corners of those intersections. You know what I'm talking about. The rule of thirds. That's what it's called. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so when I heard about composition, basically that's the one thing that used to come up, because the thing I'd be like, oh, I've heard that a million times. And so I thought that was basically the only stuff that really existed, and I just didn't have a grasp on how much knowledge there is around building images, and not just through just the rule of thirds, but also in terms of rhythm, in terms of unity, in terms of variety, in terms of the shape language, and how that connects with the mood or the message of the image that you're trying to connect, rhythmic flows. And when I say this stuff, you might not even know what I'm talking about, but all I can say is I'm so excited about all this stuff that I've been learning really more in depth, and just getting a deeper and deeper understanding of all these layers in the past, I don't know, maybe 4 years or maybe 4 years. And it's what I'm really excited about at the moment. I feel like it opens up a whole new avenue within image making, image building. Anyway, that stuff is the stuff that I am really excited to be teaching, and it's what I've been kind of doing on Patreon for a while. And I haven't done it on Skillshare just because I feel like there's also maybe more a desire for the old type of classes where it's more creativity based and kind of unleashing your, or dealing with the fear, the self-doubt, that kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, all that to say is that I'm very excited about these different things that I'm learning and that I also want to teach, because I find it mental that I didn't know that a lot of these things existed before a few years ago. And don't get me wrong, it's not to say that I'm an expert in all of these things. I still have so much to learn, but that's also the beauty of it, is I just find that it's so fascinating to realize that you always can up your levels just by increasing your knowledge and by practicing more in your sketchbooks. Anyway, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. Anyway, it was all that was just to say is that I would love to know if there's any subjects in particular that you're interested in, and also maybe if you even know those different words that I was maybe evoking around, composition, unity, variety, rhythm, shape language, all those things. And I do want to make one thing clear, is that for me, even when I do teach these subjects that are more in depth, I am always still bringing in that element that, of course, is just part of the classes that I've always done, which is, alleviating fear, reminders of the fact that art is a process. It's not a product. It's not a result. And kind of releasing those expectations that make the art process less fun, so that we can really get down into the growth aspect of it. So even when I go more in depth, I definitely bring that in. Anyway, so here's a box. I'm gonna put it in the next slide, I guess, because there's no more time, but let me know.